Hey, in this tutorial, I'm going to introduce how to make a data table using HTML. Everything I'm about to teach you in this lesson is also found in the W3 Schools lesson, HTML tables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make this table that they give you as the first example on W3 Schools. So what I've done in brackets is I have created a empty index.html file, and I've gotten all the basics elements in there. I've got this in a new folder for myself. I'm also planning on using a little CSS later, so I'm going to go ahead and create a file called style.css, and I'll add a link to that in my head so that later on when I want to add some styling, for example, right, we've got some different font and a different color on every other row. Once I want to do that, I can use CSS to do that. Okay. All right, so the first thing you need to do with a table is start with an opening tag table. So everything in between these two tags is going to be the data for the table. Tables, just like an HTML document, has a head and a body. A table has a table head and a table body, and the elements you use for that are t-head and t-body. Okay. Within the table head, we have rows. The element you use to start a new row, and this is kind of how you code a table in HTML, is you do it row by row. So the first thing we're going to code is this top row where it says company, contact, country. There are 3 cells in that top row. And you see how this top row, everything is bold. Those are like the table headings. This tells you what each item in this column is. Every item in this column is a company. Every item in this column is a contact's name. And every item in this column is a country. That's what the table head means. It's the headings of the table columns. So this table head is going to have 1 row. And within the row, there are 3 TD elements. Okay, TD stands for table data. Okay, I'm going to put some comments in here to drive this home. TR means table row. TD means table data, or table datum if you want to be perfectly syntactically correct. So this first table datum item is the word company. So I'm going to type that in right here in between the opening and closing TD tags. The next item is the word contact. And the last item is the word country. Okay, now that is the end of this row. I've got 3 cells in that row, and so now after those 3 TDs, you do the closing TR tag. That is also the end of the table head, so I'm going to use the closing t-head tag, and that finishes that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the preview. All right, I've got those 3 words in there. Obviously, it doesn't look very good yet, doesn't look anything like this, but at least I have those words in there. Let's go into the next parts. Now I'm going to copy and paste this because some of these names are really weird and I don't want to have to bother copying them. Let's make this smaller so that I can work better. Okay, now we're into the body, the T-body. I want to start a new row within the T-body, so I use a TR. Enter, enter, tab in. This row is going to have 3 TDs again. Okay, it's going to have this Alfred's, the Maria, and Germany. So we'll put those in there. There's that Alfred's. Here's Maria Anders and Germany. That's the end of that row, so we do a closing TR tag, but we're still in the body. So I'm going to put the next row still inside of this same T-body element. Okay. So here's the next row. And now I'm down to row 3, Centro Comercial Moctezuma, or whatever. Okay, and you start to see pretty quickly that once you understand the language of a table, most of the typing is typing the actual data in the table itself. You have not too much typing to do with regards to elements. Okay, I finished that row, so I'll start a new TR. Within that TR are 3 more TDs. By the way, if you're paying attention, you'll notice that every time I finish a TD, I don't have to move my cursor. I just hit a certain key and it goes down to the next line, leaving the closing tag there. So like right now, if I hit Command Enter, it'll just go to the next line. That's a handy trick in brackets that can help you work faster, especially when you're writing tables where you have lots and lots of tags. So just going row by row. And I have one more. Okay, so this is basically it. I've coded the entire table. We've got the head with that top row, and we've got the body. Okay, let's go check. I'll save, and let's go check our preview. There's all the data. One nice thing already you see is that it's put into nice columns. It's already formatting it like a table. One thing I do notice is that the top headings are not bolded yet, and that is because I actually made a little mistake right here. I was supposed to use table headings right on that top row, and a table heading is supposed to use the TH tag, not TD. Okay, so that's the last tag that you need to learn. And as soon as I did that, you noticed they turned bold and they got centered automatically because I identified them as table headings. Okay, so the main body is where you put all of your table data. And that's the basic HTML part. The rest of it is just styling it with CSS. First thing you might notice is that there's no border on here. This table has a nice light gray border around it and in between the cells. So I'm going to go into the CSS here. I'm going to use the table selector. I'm going to put a border around the whole thing, 1 pixel. I'm going to use gray. Make it kind of stylish. That put a border around the whole thing. If I want a border around every cell, remember this cell, these cells were TH cells and these cells were TDs. Then I need to go grab the TDs and the THs, and I need to put a border around them as well. Solid gray. Now I've got borders around everything. Notice also though, now they're doubled up. Back here they're not, they're single borders. How do I deal with that? Well, that is in the table CSS, you use this special property called border collapse, and you give it the value of collapse. And as soon as you do that, it collapses into a single border. So that's starting to look kind of nice. It's a little bit cramped. I want to give things more space. And when you want to give things more space inside of an element, that's called padding. Let's go ahead and try 8 pixels. That's starting to look pretty good. That looks kind of nice. I'll just leave it at 8 pixels. Things are coming together here. Okay, the last thing I notice is that every other row has this gray background in it. And I want to do that too. But with mine, I think I'm going to use like light yellow or some other nicer color. Now in CSS, the way you do this is you want to grab every other row. So you do TR, and you do a colon, and you say nth child. The nth child pseudo selector allows you to say only go get the even rows. Don't get all of the rows. Don't get all of the TR. And then I can say something like background color, and I can say gray. And again, I think that's too dark. So I'm going to use the brackets trick where you hit Command E, and that'll give me a color picker. I'm going to use some kind of like real light orange. I think that, ooh, that looks kind of nice right there. Let's do that. So there I've got a color for the background color on every other element. And then maybe in the heading row, why don't I go ahead and make the background of that a different color too? Remember, that was the T head. I'm just picking a color again because I know I can go into the brackets. Color picker. Kind of like it more saturated. There, that's looking pretty good. And that's basically it. That is a beautiful, nicely formatted data table. I guess the only other thing, if you want to get really nitpicky, is that the headings up here are left justified. They're not centered. So I could fix that by going text align left. So that put these up here on the left. And they also used a different font. So why don't I go ahead and say font family. I think they used Arial. And that more closely matches the font that they used in the other table. So happy tabling. Your assignment that corresponds with this video is called HTML Tables 1. It's quite similar to what I just did. The every other color is optional in my assignment, but go ahead and do it if you feel like it.